about 11 o'clock, I heard a rough knock on the door. And I said, "Who is there?" And they shouted, "Police." So I dressed up. I went with the police to their police cells. They told my wife that I would be back in a short period of time.
How long were you in prison?
I was in prison approximately for 5 years.
Would you tell me how it affects you?
Well, when I was in detention, the feelings I had and my colleagues did have, I looked at, for instance, the history of black people from the days of slavery. I found that they suffered at the hands of white people. Then I looked at the days of colonialism. I also found that the black man was again at the bottom of everything, was under oppression from the white man. And I looked at America and Britain. In America, I still found that despite the emancipation, the black man was still at the bottom of everything. He's as it were an object. And then we looked at South Africa and Rhodesia. We found that these were countries with institutionalized racism, where again the black person is at the bottom of everything, undergoes torture, is something less than human, is an object. If you don't tell them what they want, you then go to detention. But the other system of torture is that they can tie you to your legs to a tree, your hands to a car, and pull. They say, if you don't tell us who did what or what you did, we are going to pull you apart. And of course they pull. Some people have died as a result of torture.
What did you feel when you came out of prison?
I didn't, I had grown in a way to be different. The torture I had undergone for the last 5 years made me less and less feeling about things, just take life as it comes. So even when I came out, there was no great excitement on my part. And I still felt that I was still in prison.
Any comments or feedback for your cases? Do you want to take? I can record it. Or someone, yeah, Rafi, do you want to record feedback?
Oh, I'm already recording it, so it's fine.
Oh yes, we're good. So yeah, feedback for your cases.
Well,
I hear you.
I can see it, fine. I guess I am at the front. That's your choice to sit behind me.
I guess also
it's interesting you said that.
Sorry,
It's interesting you said that. I've got a strobe light which I did want to test out, but there's also an aspect of my piece where I really don't want to distract too much from what my dad's saying. So originally I had set myself to be in the middle of the room right in front of the screen, and then I felt like that's detracting from what he's actually saying. So then I decided to push myself over to one side to give him space to tell the story I'm talking. And I did have strobe lights for a moment, but I just, you know, it's something where I was like, I don't know if I want to try that out today, or, you know, because I just haven't been able to see it for myself. I've been able to do it for myself, but I don't really know what it looks like. But I do kind of agree, yeah, but I was a bit on that.
Maybe it's just me that's like sees things from different perspectives all the time, but now I'm thinking like what other implications of having, I guess the usual, show thing would be to have a light, but then what does it mean when there is no light, you know? So I feel like there was an ambiguity, because I'm not sure, because you were looking around at the end, I wasn't sure if you were looking at me, and I couldn't tell where.
Yeah, I was looking. Okay, well that's probably, it would be handy then.
And so, well, no, I guess what I'm saying is that the darkness creates a sense of
mystery.
not knowing. So that's what, yeah.
There was also another specific reason at some point. I don't really feel that the history that I have in my life, that I have completely seen it and it's totally visible to me and it's put out there. So in some respects, I feel like my position is that I am looking for some answers, which other people are not really searching for, but I'm not always seen and I'm not always able to find what I am looking for, I think. So there's kind of a part of me which feels like I'm not able. It's obstructed for me, so for some, in some regards I wanted it to be slightly obstructed for people.
I was wondering what was informing the choreography.
Well, initially I think I wanted to try just a little backwards quickly, so I think I just had to change how I wanted to present this today, I don't know. And I originally started off by looking at what he's saying, what his journey is, what he might have been feeling, but a lot of this I think is about what he appears to be saying happened. Like I wanted to shout police, for example. This is the version that I have where I've got a beret on and I'm on the stage and I walk to the back and you hear me stamping and then I re-enter the space with my dad. But I changed that. But I think there's just a part of, there's a moment where I'm trying to look at my mother, for example, where I just look over my shoulders when I turn around in front of the chair. So I guess it's about maybe some of the feelings that he's going through in the moment.
Yeah, it seemed to imply that.
You know?
I was thinking.
Yeah. It's not the best execution I've ever done, but
I thought it was brilliant. Like I thought that I found it really moving to watch it, and I think I kind of really settled into a feeling of you really trying to move to the beat of your dad's voice, and the voice became like music. The voice became the soundtrack, and yeah, I guess I wasn't thinking so much about who you were representing. It felt for me like I think that there was a sense that it was a performance because you came in with the shirt, and I think that was just a really nice touch because it made me sit up and pay attention. But I think then throughout I was just thinking about the interaction with you. I guess I knew it was your dad, so perhaps that's a bit of meaning that maybe I had that not everyone has.
yeah.
But I think it really made me, perhaps that is what also then just made me focus on the relationship between your body and his voice. I'd be interested to know what other people thought who didn't necessarily know that it was your dad.
Loads of hands.
Yeah,
Graphic and Mo.
Oh no, I think Mo.
Oh, go on, Mo. Go on, you go.
Yeah, I thought it was very moving as well, and I thought the fact that you were in the dark and also in a chair, you seem like an observer, as I think children often are. And I found that quite sweet, this sort of, like you were sort of watching and not in the spotlight, feeling that way.
I was kind of going to say what Rosa was saying about how you moved in relationship to his voice, and you created your own rhythm that came with his cadence, which was so interesting. Even the levels in which you moved and how that told a story in itself was just really amazing.
That's really hard. I think I've got a lot of different versions of this in my head, and I think it's just a work in progress at this point. But it's a really important part of my history, and it's a really important story that I intend to try to pursue because of the history behind my family and my great-great-great-grandfather having his head cut off by the English as an example to village and his head being brought back to the United Kingdom and apparently being in the British Museum. And it really is just the beginning point of a continuation of what I would like to look into regards to my own family history and actually get the skulls back, which they seem to think we've lost, which is a much bigger part of the story, which ultimately, I guess it's like I'm trying to tell a story which I don't think is often discussed or seen as far as I'm concerned, or I'm trying to tell my dad's story, which I haven't really seen anywhere else at all, apart from on Concerning Violence, which is the film that it's taken from. So I don't know if it's like a therapeutic process. I started off saying it's a psychic spell because I just want to, at some point, the performance won't have me leaving at the end with the skull in my hands, for example. You know, that's where I'm moving to. That's where I'm moving towards. But yeah, it's tricky. It's really hard when you're very connected to something. To do it in such a short amount of time and then feel like you've actually done what you wanted to do. So I'm definitely like, this is just like my practice run or something because I wouldn't ever, it doesn't honour him exactly the way that I would want to honour him, but it's the beginning of a process to explore telling the story, representing him as he is, you know.
I was gonna say in terms of the setup, I think it was interesting that you weren't as visible as the projection was. I think it could be interesting as well if you don't stay in the corner, but if you moved around.
From this chair, you mean?
Yeah,
Let's stay in the chair.
because you said that initially you wanted to be in the middle, but then you thought that was too much.
Yeah.
So it would be maybe interesting to be in the middle for a while and go back to where you
Come out at the same
Yeah.
time. Yeah. I just, you know, you like, yeah, I hear you. Because it's nice when you see lights and silhouettes and things like that. I agree.
But overall, I think it was interesting that you weren't that visible.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a problem in my opinion.
I had a really similar idea. I was thinking about your piece being played or performed in maybe like platform theater where the screen is much bigger. So you'd just be a small, tiny silhouette. It wouldn't interrupt.
Yes.
And your shadow would be like casted from like a work of your father.
Yeah.
So.
Lights there as well, you know, there's like something down here.
Yeah.
Symbolically, it's a very poetic and interesting phase, like you literally casting the
Yeah.
shadow.
Yeah.
So that's more about the relationship we have with the image, right? Yeah. I mean, I feel it's interesting the whole like dancing the or moving like the pain kind of thing.
And painters, I think, yeah. It's actually really difficult to connect to just, for me it's really difficult to go slowly, I think I had to commit to trying to be slow. I think it's really important because that's pace, you know?
Yeah, that's really important. I even quite like the directional beginning, you know, can someone please close the blinds? It kind of fitted with the atmosphere that you were creating, with the live novel, etc. I think it's really important that, well, it's important to the piece, I should say, this father-daughter relationship or this fragment from history. I think there's a difference there. What, you know, the auto-ethnographic and the ethnographic, if you like. I mean, it's an amazing story and it's got to be told. And you are telling it. It's got to be told, this story.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Shan's thing with the back. I don't know if it's a backlight, but I think it will be backlight. And I don't think you should go and interrupt the projection. I think you should stay away from it if you were to produce this again. Because this might be my interpretation, but I feel like you're a shadow of your father. So I don't think you should be in front of his projection or interrupt his.
I mean, it culturally is one where you really respect your elders. It's all about the elders, and it's not like you care to really do that, like paramount. What you make me think about now is, maybe it's about having, like you said, the light in front, and maybe it's about the silhouettes, which mean extending it a bit, but maybe that's something to think about as well. Having a larger, is it about silhouettes in a slightly different space? I don't know what.
I think what I was imagining is like a space like platform theater where the screen is super wide, and your reflection on the floor, or like the shadow, the silhouette of your body. So it wouldn't take away the focus of the film while we're still seeing you as a silhouette moving.
Got you.
Yeah.
It's from the back. Right.
Yeah. And like the projector in the platform theater it's a shot, it's a project front and back of the screen. So if you stand behind the screen, you can even cast your silhouette on.
And also, if it becomes like, I could see like, if this becomes like a 3-act performance, perhaps going off what Cara is saying, perhaps there are moments where it is appropriate for you to interrupt and disrupt an image. Perhaps that's not suitable for your father's image, but you showed me some footage of some colonialists, British colonialists, and perhaps that would be, if you wanted, that those would be images that you could disrupt, and there would be a contrast. Yeah, but I even, to be honest, I even think the way that you've pinned up the fabric, I've been looking at it since you pinned it up on Tuesday, and I think it's quite like, quite beautiful in itself. There's something about this tapestry, and I don't know, I could definitely see more slick production in the platform theatre, sure. I think that you definitely made some decisions in terms of the pinning up of the fabric as well. It's different to how Cara did it, for instance, with the curtains. You know, you all made different decisions. It's interesting to now reflect on them.
I was thinking about maybe integrating some thread from something my mum had made eventually. I made a like scarf with my mum. I was like, oh, it's not finished, but there's still lots of. Suppose I made a little bit. Maybe that's part of making it really interesting. It's too hard.
Brilliant, thank you.